after. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Back with one of my favorite series, one of my favorite HubSpotters, Willem Reus here to talk about HubSpot onboarding. And could there be a better time than right after spring spotlight, my friend? Lots of stuff going on.
There is one heck of a lot going on, but what most people don't realize is that this will also have a massive impact for onboarding.
Exactly. And I'll thank my friend Claude. Just a few prompts, and what a beautiful post about all the impacts that this will have on onboarding. So we'll get through what we can today. But what has is there anything? We'll start here. Is there anything already impacting your team in regards to all the changes that have been made?
Keep in mind that the changes, we roll a lot of changes out granularly or gradually, and that really means that it doesn't impact everything straight away. And what you have probably seen with the updates is that a lot of them were already in private beta before. So for me, there are very few surprises except for the onboarding bit, and I didn't see that one coming.
Right.
But did Claude uncover that bit?
So there's a specific update for onboarding you're referring to, or are we just talking about the impact of all the other stuff on onboarding?
We are rolling out a more structured kind of self onboarding, but really with a structure in the portal where you go through a template that is right now set up for Marketing Hub and for Sales Hub for some customers, where we really focus on, okay, we want to be easy, fast, and unified. You probably heard that one before. What actually is fast if we talk about onboarding? Because you may say, well, you know what? We're going to onboard in 2 years. That's really fast. Somebody else may say, wait, aren't we up and running in 2 days? Why not? And that is where we really rethought about, okay, how long should something take? And right now we are creating a guided path saying, okay, do you want to take the fast route, which is 1 to 2 weeks? Or do you want to sit back, relax, and have an easy time that will be 2 to 4 weeks?
Oh man. Uh so let me take a step back here because I we go over updates every day. Me, George, Casey. I'm not familiar with what you speak of right now.
Keep
um
keep in mind, yesterday morning I was not able to talk about this yet because this is one of the updates that is per Spring Spotlight.
okay, so this is one of the 280 plus, and it hasn't shown up on the product updates page itself. Uh,
Probably
s-
not.
so I hadn't gone through the all of the 280 yet,
Wait,
thinking
what?
that
I'm so
most of it.
disappointed now.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my job apparently. So onboarding choices. Okay, that yeah, I think at the end of the day, the whole conversation is uh everything's changed, man.
Yeah.
And the thing that hasn't changed though, and I understand why, is how HubSpot is sold and serviced. Because behind all the scenes, the old Hub, the old HubSpot, still pretty amazing, and people want to buy that one too. So that's what we're selling because most of us have not. Nobody's been able to go through all 280 updates. So really hard to fit that into your sales process
Yeah.
um, when you're not aware. So I wanted to, you know, go there today actually. And is it like the easy question or the hard question is how do you possibly keep up on the sales side of things. Um, but really, like, I mean, what's reasonable for how this stuff like moves into sales onboarding services processes? Is it, how can it not be reactive, like based on customer need? And then, oh, we actually have that update today. Now I know too. Now you know. Now easier sale. Is that the reality of this?
A little bit, but what you should be aware is there are indeed so many features that we push out. But I would also argue a little bit like if you purchase a pro portal and if you use 20% of the functionality in the portal, you will have return of investment. That means that in theory, if you're using 20%, you can likely skip 80% of all the product updates and just start living under a rock and not do that. And in a way, that may not be the best way. But on the other hand, and I'm going to ask one silly question. Do you know what leads are in HubSpot? There are still customers who are not using leads at all, and they are being highly successful. I have worked with customers where I told them, whatever you do, don't use the leads object. It does not fit your business. And it really is like, okay, you should understand your business, you should understand your processes. And there are a lot of small changes like, ooh, the menu structure is going to change a little bit. Realistically, you will see that when it happens. You may not be happy with it, but trust me, you
I
will see
just
it when it happens.
I just clicked the button today. Of course, orders still not on it, but that's a different conversation.
Yep.
Um, yeah, man. Like, so I mean, I think you said the magic words, like business fit. Like that should be driving um kind of like the whole process, right? Of, like determining sales, um, are you ready for HubSpot as an organization? Are you just looking for, quick fixes? And like, because you mentioned you only need 20% to get your like
ROI
return,
on average. Yeah.
right? And that's why George and I were saying on the morning show today, with all these updates, if somehow it becomes about HubSpot being too expensive, like, no, like in what world? Like, no, like we're not in a good place if we're not understanding, what HubSpot is capable of for any business, at the cost that you get it at, the operating cost or lack thereof that it's going to have. Because I think, like, definitely inside of the HubSpot ecosystem, we take a lot of what's happening for granted when in other systems, other legacy systems, like the basics that we're used to, like managing properties, are not easy. Like open API access everywhere is not possible. Like even the permissioning structures, all this stuff is just getting updated at light speed. That's where, I mean, maybe it's one thing we can say, if you do find yourself in a budget focused conversation, like make sure you know what's going on right now with the portal. But does it, even there, it still comes back to like, what are you trying to accomplish, with
What are you
HubSpot,
trying to
right?
accomplish, and what is the total cost of what you're trying to accomplish? And I think that that is something that almost everybody struggles with. And I'm going to give one really quick example. Let's say that you have a marketing team of 10 people. The company is on a budget. It won't make it with the current, basically, spending that it has. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, well, we're going to heavily invest in the tech stack? We're going to increase potentially even the cost there. And we're going to let go or give 5 people a different position, which decreases the total cost. Most companies will say no, no matter what, we will basically write all the letters ourselves manually with pen and paper because we want to keep the people. But with AI and that sort of thing, the whole revolution is coming. And
It's
yes,
here.
I doubt that. I'm gonna say it's coming.
Oh
It's
man.
only starting.
I mean, as far as people adopting it, like for sure. Um, but what we talked about today and just the 38 updates of the 280, um, I think that's where there's layers and layers of change um, that we have to work through uh, to understand the impact of AI. And like an example, I'm pasting it everywhere right now. Customer agent, right? The ability to access other business systems from the customer agent itself, right? That, in theory, like one of my favorite things to help people with integrations with ERPs to get data into HubSpot to
Yeah,
help people understand order status. In theory, we don't need that data coming into HubSpot anymore if the customer agent itself during a conversation can go into the ERP and get it,
yeah, exactly.
right? And like, so understanding all the layers, I agree with you. Like, that's why we're so far away from adopting like the and understanding the true impact of this. But as far as tools and availability, like one of the questions that I wanted to ask, and you probably need a whole episode dedicated to this, is like the meetings updates, all that just happened. Like meetings assistance in HubSpot. How many other tools? Kim Hacker just did a great like breakdown of 29 different call AI calling, recorder assistant tools. And half of that was like, how do they integrate into HubSpot and what does that look like?
Yeah, I've
And
seen
then
that.
HubSpot just dropped their own today.
Yeah.
So, like, how do we even think about, like, let's say we love Fathom, like, it's been so good to us, but now we've got HubSpot built in, like, not exactly Fathom, probably, but pretty close. And like, when does that investment, like, how, as an admin, as a leader, like, how do you even think about melting away, the rest of the stack that is now just showing up like in HubSpot?
If you think AI first, how do you make AI work? Because I see a lot of technical limitations right now with AI. And I think that a lot of people will see that if you use not the latest and greatest model, but even something that's close, at one point it will exceed the context window and you will basically get a repetition in the answers. Those contact windows are a real limitation right now. So that means that if you just have a bunch of data that you can't structure and put in a form somehow, and I mean not a form as in a form to fill in, but something that AI can process really well, then you won't get there. And that is with the meetings now that we have. We pull everything into HubSpot, we transcribe everything, and you can ask questions to Breeze based on that. And that will be really with the context window in mind to make sure that everything just works. And while I do understand, and you are absolutely right, like, oh, you can actually pull information from an external system on the fly in a chatbot. Yes, but at what time do you need to pull what? And how great is it if you already have the context in a chat, you chat into whatever because you have an issue it already knows your interactions.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Because on the other side of this is customer adoption of like, agents, like using a customer agent to ask about my order. I've never been able to do that before. Why am I going to start now? How do I know it's safe for me to do that? How am I know, like, am I just going to say representative, like press 0, like, the education around that curve is going to be, has already been super interesting. But so it sounds like, you're suggesting caution, uh, on any of the new stuff, it might be most of it, that relates to AI. Like before we just wholesale, like start getting rid of our other systems because AI is here to save the day.
What I'm really considering right now with everything that you will start building, and if you purchase HubSpot for the very first time, you will start building your own CRM, basically, because, yeah, sure, it's HubSpot, but you will make it your own with your own
Yes.
properties. You will decide how an order actually looks like and that sort of thing. So I'm still going to call that your own CRM and how your data set looks like. But what is most important with HubSpot is that you have a unified data set with everything linked in just one way, and there's logics behind everything. And if there's logics, AI will be able to figure it out. And that is why Breeze is highly successful. Because, well, not because Breeze is the smartest. I'm going to be honest with you on that. Breeze is not, I'm, I think it's great. But the reason it is great is because the underlying data structure is so good that that allows it to be great. And
Yep.
there are a lot of LLM models we look at, a whole bunch of them, and maybe one day we will switch them, but Breeze will keep working.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because you can't talk to Breeze like you can an LLM. I'm trying and it's not working. But when you
Yes.
get specific on like objects and use right naming conventions that matches the portal, it does do some pretty powerful things. Um, Man, for somebody who tries to keep up every day,
It's
uh,
hard, right?
that's like if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can't. I understand people that just kind of shut it off, right? So, what is your, as you see people on both sides, maybe sales and thinking back to success, like what was your one piece of advice for people who feel like it, they want to get the most value always, right? How do they, how do you give yourself permission to not keep up to date and maybe create a system to know when you should like look into new things? Like what's the play there?
I'm going to make a kind of a comparison. Do you follow the news, Chris?
Uh Try not to.
So you say you try not to. So if there is a global catastrophic event, you will not hear from it? You will basically be unaware? Or will you still hear about it somehow?
I will still hear about it somehow.
Okay. If there's an update that's that important in HubSpot, you will still know. Even if you basically remove yourself from every single email and that sort of thing, you will still know. And that is how you should look at it. The people who do spend, let's for now say 30 minutes a day reading the news, do you think that they know everything that there is to know about the news?
No,
Do you think that they get close?
no.
No. But would you say it's more than good enough?
Uh,
Half
Oh
an
yeah.
hour a day?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point for sure. And that's
You're probably going to say that 2 minutes a day is enough.
right. Yeah. Um, yeah. And that's where if that 2 minutes creates some kind of relevant insight, then it becomes more than
Yeah.
that. I think that's where it's like, can we get that, for HubSpot people, for the non super users, for leaders? Like at this point, um, keeping up like 2 minutes a week, even right now, could mean like worlds for their business. Like literally, HubSpot is changing like before our very eyes
Yeah.
into this just beast of a platform where I love it. I mean, you can tell they're embracing future reality of AI. Um, the fact that we need any and every system to get in here. Like, let's get all the data in. Let's take care of it. Let's give people, you know, uh, chat-based interfaces. All of the stuff, right? It's impressive to watch. What does it feel like? Do you get feelings like that on the inside, or is it just everybody is just face head down doing work?
What I partially feel like is like, yeah, you have people like you complaining about the updates. I see a lot more updates because I also see everything that's in development and everything that is pulled and did not make it to a private beta and that sort of thing. So we see more than you see.
That's crazy to
And
think about.
yeah, that is, of course, on one hand, slightly overwhelming. And on the other hand, you'll get good at it really quickly. Like, yeah, seen that before. Oh, that is something with Salesforce integration. Nah, not interested. And on the other hand, there are things that are really interesting that are being pushed back. And as you probably know, I'm a huge fan of the programmable emails in HubSpot.
Yep.
But they only become really powerful when we say we're going to allow the GraphQL queries in there. Because right now it is a pain to code them to make use of an association of an association of an association. And they told me about a year and a half ago, well, we're working on it. We're going to roll that out really quickly and really and yeah, sometimes that's the hardest part. It's not the part that we roll out, but it's the part that we don't roll out and that I myself see as really valuable. But something like programmable emails, and keep in mind that this is not necessarily to hijack the topic, but if we don't put GraphQL queries in there, nobody but people like you and me will adopt it. As soon as we would, it would be accessible to somebody who's going to say, I'm going to click a query in GraphQL into it. I'm going to save it. Let's go, basically. And it's a chicken and the egg.
Yep.
And we're going to say, no, people are not using it, so we're not going to build that in.
Well, as much as I want to support you, sir, you know my feelings on email. And maybe they're just like, okay, let's a channel. Um, maybe not as I I know not all the decisions are I'll just say at some point they have to prioritize. They're working like even 200 product teams or whatever it is now. Like can't do all the things. Um,
Nope.
so at this point we've got I know they've started calling all the pieces of the platform apps. Is there a number on how many apps are in a fully unlocked platform?
It keep in mind that some people call some of the things apps and some people don't. It depends on your license. Some people with a legacy license have more or less than some other people. No, you really can't say anything about a portal unless, and keep in mind that I'm saying this more or less from my time as a customer success manager, I could look at the license. That would give me a good indication, But then I would still need to look at, okay, but now what does this portal exactly have?
Yeah.
And the easiest example is we recently, of course, rolled out Content Hub. Since we rolled out Content Hub, the landing pages are no longer in Marketing Hub. But if you have the older license, they still are. If you have the newer license, they're not.
Yeah.
So if somebody has Marketing Hub Pro, do they have landing pages or not? Basically, you don't know, Chris.
I
That's not
know.
enough information.
Oh man. Getting closer to the it's one thing I do like about the new nav. Like it's starting to um put some of those apps together, but it still doesn't solve that problem. Man, so much to talk about. I'm sure we'll continue this journey next week until HubSpot gives us 50 more updates. Uh, Next
Only
week
50?
to talk about, I mean, 10 per day. You're right. Like we're doing all right if it's only 10 per day.
Yeah,
Um, but it's been so good to see you and talk to you again. And hang in there, man. You're seeing more updates than us. That's I understand, but that's crazy to think about. So we appreciate you showing up and helping us navigate all this stuff, man.
perfect.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody, for watching.
Yep. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk soon.